In this video, we're going to go over the Pythagorean Theorem. Now, in essence, the Pythagorean Theorem is a formula that goes with a right triangle, and it's used to find any missing side on that right triangle. What this formula is telling you is if you take the two sides that form a right angle, you square each one of those sides and add them together, it will be the exact same length as the side that's across from the right angle. So A and B, these two sides right here that form that right angle, they have a special name. They're called legs. And the side that's across from the right angle, which will always be the largest side, is called the hypotenuse. Now this formula works with any right triangle, and you can use it to find one of the missing sides. If you're doing these, a lot of times teachers will actually put one of the letters in there that you're looking for. Now, when you're using this formula, the hypotenuse always has to go in this spot right here. It doesn't matter where you put these two. I could put A or B in either one of these legs spots, but the hypotenuse always has to go right here. So let's watch this formula being used. As soon as you're given a triangle, you know that if it's a right triangle, you can use this formula right here. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And the C is always going to be the side that's across from the hypotenuse. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply plug these numbers into the formula and solve. Again, it doesn't matter where I put the legs. The only thing that matters when I'm plugging numbers into this formula is I have to put the hypotenuse in that spot right there. So I'm just going to make this one A and this one B. Next thing I need to do is square each one of these numbers. 9 squared is 81. 12 squared, 12 times 12 is 144, is equal to C squared. I need to add these together. 81 plus 144 is 225. To solve any equation, you need to do the opposite. This is a problem like the square using the square root method. The opposite of squaring something is taking the square root. So to solve this, to get rid of this square, I need to take the square root, and I'm going to take the square root of both sides. C is equal to 15. Now in the other problems, we had to worry about a positive 15 and a negative 15. When we're dealing with geometric problems, where we're talking about distance, and that's what we're finding here, the distance, the length of this side right here, we're only going to worry about positive numbers because there's no such thing as a negative length. Our next example, we need to find this missing side right here. So again, I'm going to use the formula A squared plus B squared equals C squared because this is a right triangle, and this formula goes with a right triangle, and it's used to find one of the missing sides. When I plug these numbers in here, again, you have to be careful about where you plug in the C. The C is the length that is across from the right angle. That one has to go in for C right here. It doesn't matter where I plug these other two in. So I can go ahead and plug this 4 in for A, and I'm going to be solving for B. 4 squared is 16 plus B squared equals 5 squared is 25. I need to solve this equation. The first thing I need to do to solve this equation is get rid of the 16. Opposite of adding 16 is subtracting 16, and I need to do it to both sides. B squared is equal to 25 minus 16 is 9. The opposite of squaring something is taking the square root. I need to take the square root of both sides. b is equal to the square root of 9 is 3. The length of that missing side is 3. And remember, on these problems, I only worry about the positive answer because it's dealing with the length of something. I need to find the length of this missing side right here. As soon as I see that I'm dealing with a right triangle, that means I can use the Pythagorean Theorem. And the Pythagorean Theorem is this little formula right here. The most important thing is plugging in the hypotenuse, or C, into the right spot. That would be the number that's across from the right angle. If there is a number across from the right angle, I have to put that in for C. It doesn't matter about these other two. So I'm going to place 5 right here. 5 squared, 25. 10 squared is 100. I need to subtract 25 from both sides. Solve this like I would a normal equation. B squared is equal to 100 minus 25 is 75. To get rid of this square, I need to square root both sides. B is equal to. Now in my instructions it says I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. You have to pay attention to the instructions because sometimes the instructions will say simplify this radical. We've gone over how to simplify this radical, but since it says round to the nearest tenth, you're actually going to take your calculator out and take the square root of 75. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my calculator, take 75, take the square root of it, and it says round to the nearest tenth. The tenth is the first number after the decimal place. This number right here decides whether or not this number stays the same or goes up. If this number right here is 5 or bigger, then you round up. You take that number up to the next one. So this is a 6, so when I round this to the nearest tenth, this is going to be 8.7. Find the missing side. I'm going to find this missing side right here, and it says round to the nearest tenth. Since this is a right triangle, I can use my Pythagorean Theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to plug the numbers in, making sure that I plug in my c if it's available. And c is the number that's across from the right angle. I'm going to put 6.1 in for c. It doesn't matter whether I put this 2.5 in for a or b. I'm simply going to put it in for a. Now I'm going to take my calculator and do my math. 2.5 times 2.5, 6.25. Another thing I'm going to do is not do any rounding until the very end. 6.1 times 6.1. My first step in solving this is to subtract 6.25. Subtract 6.25. So I already have 37.21 in the calculator. I simply need to subtract 6.25. The opposite of squaring something is taking the square root. Already have 30.96 in the calculator. I take the square root of it. And I need to round now to the nearest tenth. This number right here is telling me I need to round that up to 5.6. So save your rounding until the very end.